Okay, it looks like we have a good number of people, and I think we can get started. First, I want to start with a thank you to the New Families Committee, who worked really hard over the summer to get everybody on board, and this fall with the fabulous cocktail party welcoming everyone to our community. Thank you for that. The Hospitality Committee for a great teacher appreciation luncheon. We did box lunches from Nutmeg, and they were delicious. And it's a time for all the teachers to get together, and time for us to show them how much we appreciate them. And the Teen Center crew is rolling out another teen night this Friday at 7 o'clock. And you'll enter into the atrium, and the kids have been having a blast. The 8th grade did it a few weeks ago. And so we're excited to have the 7th grade experience it as well. If you were able to obtain tickets to the middle school fall social, I know it sold out quickly. Keep an eye on the weather. Jen Heathwood sent out an email earlier today regarding a possible rain date change up. So over the weekend, keep an eye on your email just in case that does get changed. But we're excited to all get together finally, and it'll be a nice, fun outdoor event. Thank you to the Jaquettes for hosting. We have a wonderful group of speakers tonight. We're going to start with Wendy Fahey, and she's going to talk about the foundation. And then we're going to move to Ms. Zopp and Mr. Tachi, and they're going to talk about all the wonderful things they're teaching our kids while using the Bronx River, which is right in our backyard. And then finally, Dr. Wilson will wrap it up with his principal's message. So Wendy, if you're on there, I'm happy to start with you if you're ready.
I am. Thank you so much, Caroline. And thank you, everyone. The Bronxville School Foundation is off to a busy start again this year, thanks to all of you and your donations last year. The first thing I want to share with you is that the Katie Welling Run Walk will be held again this year virtually from November 15th to November 30th. And signups have opened up for that. You might have seen something come in your email from the foundation or on Instagram or Facebook. So you can sign up there and make a donation. And it's not just a one-day run. You can run the whole time. You can run, or each day you can run one day, but it's just wonderful if you are able to participate. And please take pictures. You can post them and hashtag the foundation and Katie's Run, just because it's a really wonderful community event that unfortunately we again this year are going to be doing virtually. Also, I wanted to let everyone know that the community drive, the foundation's community drive, is just about to launch, and that will be sent out probably within the next week. And in there is your annual report from last year, which details the list of all the incredible grants that the foundation was able to award last year because of everyone's generous donations. We do strive for 100% participation from school families. So thank you for considering to make a donation this year. And the impact of all of your donations can be seen all over the school physically, in the curriculum and in the technology that's being used to help during these challenging times. So thank you again for considering making a donation for this school year. If you want to learn more about the foundation, you can ask any foundation member. There's a list of them going to be in the annual report, including the new board members. You are always welcome to reach out to me. Through Caroline, you can get in touch with me or anyone else, and you can look on the Bronxville School Foundation website or visit us on social media. So thank you again, and we look forward to sharing with you all the great grants that we're able to fund this year. Thank you.
Thanks, Wendy. Yes, look out for that in the mail because it's what really fuels a lot of our big projects at our school. Next, we have Ms. Zopp and we have Mr. Tachi. Take it away.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jennifer Zopp. I am a teacher of the 7th grade science courses and 8th grade science courses.
Hi, everyone. I'm Daniel Tachi. I'm 7th grade science. Jen and I are going to speak about our experience with the Bronx River. We're going to speak primarily in regards to 7th grade, but the river experience kind of spans from K to 12. So a lot of students have the experience with the river. We're going to primarily focus on what we're doing in 7th grade. Jen will speak a little bit about how the river impacts grades K through, grades other than 7th grade, K to 12. Karen Green is also a big part. She could not be here tonight, but she also takes her classes to the river. So all 7th graders are having a similar experience. So I'm going to start off by talking about our mission statement and why we love going to the river and why we think it's such a unique experience. So first and foremost, it is a very unique experience having a habitat like the Bronx River so close to our school. We could take students right from the classroom, show them that the content they're learning, and we can apply it right to the rigor and rewards of real scientific research. So that's what they're doing. The big question that they're trying to answer is, or come up with is, how is the health of the river? The accessibility of the Bronx River offers students this real world habitat, and they practice lab skills, measurement skills, collect, organize, and analyze data. And above all, they present it, and they present it to a committee. So there's a felt need of what they're doing. And our action plan is to really help understand and preserve this natural resource and ecosystem, and really show them that they can take this, what they're learning here in 7th grade, and take it right into high school and be part of the Bronx River research class. So we are very excited to have this opportunity. As you can see in these two pictures on the left, this student is actually just collecting. I believe she had just run a test and now is documenting her data. And on the right, a student is measuring and using some scientific equipment to conduct an experiment.
And these align, as you may not be aware, but the state is looking into altering and changing the state science standards, which have been in place since the early 90s. And so although science has not completely changed, the methodologies in getting children interested more in science and getting them out experiencing with hands-on opportunities is really what these next generation science standards are about. And New York State has adopted these standards and we've been implementing facets of them, and there will be seeing changes through the state testing starting in the next 2 years. And so here's a list of some of the standards in which going to the river meets, in that they are learning about cycling of matter and ecosystems, interactions among organisms, and the biodiversity, which we've actually been studying this week. So if your children are in 7th grade, you would have heard that for over the last week or so. Here are some of their students this year taking initial observations. This was from the first week of school, just after things had flooded. And so with Bronxville being that unique opportunity of, there was that major flood right at the beginning. So now we're actually starting to see the changes that have happened since the flood. The river's looking now more normal, back to its normal levels. So they took a lot of great observations and were able to see the silt and the garbage and everything that was kind of piling up along in a way. And so we've got clipboards and we've got paper and we've got pencils, and we're really trying to get them to be observers and curious about their world around them.
So I'm going to speak a little bit about the promise and how the Bronx River connects to the promise. While there are 4 domains of the promise, we feel that the river and the experience the students are having really focuses on the engagement of the world and thinking critically. So our job is to really get students excited in middle school, and we want this excitement to carry over into high school. So our job, again, is to inform them, provide them with the information in class, and then they can go into the river, the real world experience, and act and try to make an impact, whether it's small or large. And the hope is to take this and continue on into high school and really go run with it and maybe try to make a large impact. And then again, thinking critically, we're trying to really foster their skills, understand that research is a discipline and it's not easy. And there is failure, and failure is okay. And you might not get the results you want, or the results might surprise you. Again, this is all okay. And the rivers, again, offers such a unique experience and opportunity to do these tests and get results and surprise them. And really, again, think critically. What's going on? Why is this happening? So it's just a great experience. And in these two pictures on the left, that student is currently taking temperature, I believe, of the water. Again, we're tracking these tests. We're doing these tests, which we'll talk more about in a little bit, over a period of time. And we're eventually going to graph and see any type of trends that are occurring. I believe on the right, this student was just finishing taking either a nitrate or phosphate level test of the water.
So this isn't actually a new experience for students here in Bronxville. When I first started here, I have to be honest, I probably barely even knew that the river ran through town. Coaching cross country, we'd go run at Scout Field or at Duck Pond, and that's where I thought the experiences were. Never thought that within one class period that we could walk to the river, do some tests, and come back. So in 2011, it started off in some of the high school classes, just their living environment and earth science classes. They had longer class periods, so they were able to walk to the river, conduct some tests, and head back to class. And then in 2013, there were two motivated students that were really interested by what they learned in their classes and set themselves on a course finding a teacher who would help them with an independent study. So in 2013, two students worked as an independent study with our high school faculty member, Justine McClellan, and she really helped to get things off the ground for those students and cured their interests. And through conversations, being the K-12 building that we are, it was great to hear the enthusiasm, and we wanted to jump in and help support the program. How can we make research really authentic for these kids, and how can we help them be curious about the world around them? So in 2016, both the elementary classes and the 7th grade science classes started assessing the health of the Bronx River. And so today, what you can see is that we have kids all along the river conducting all sorts of different tests. You know, back when we started, you wouldn't have seen all of this. We were pretty limited in some of the tests. We had to do some research to get things for what could we get the kids to do in 7th grade that didn't require lots of expensive equipment, and just really trying to get them curious. So the student on the right is taking pH levels, and the students on the left are looking like, again, taking some temperature and observations of things that are going on. In case you're curious about what they have been studying, and so in elementary school, where kids are coming from is every year there's a portion of their units that aligns with being able to take them out or bring samples in from the river for them as developmentally appropriate, such as pollution, soil studies, macroinvertebrates, erosion, sediments, and the invasive species. And then we do actually in middle school continue talking about these all in greater depth. So as you can see in middle school, the focus really is here in 7th grade, the course that myself, Daniel, and Karen Green teach. And because our study in 7th grade is about biology, it has become an essential component of our course. We used to study it in the spring, and we've moved it to the fall. And what this does is it helps us not only see how things are in the fall, but the goal is to go once a month. With COVID and things that have been happening, we're back to where our original trajectory is. And so we've been going about once a week or once every other week for the month of September, October. And then starting in November, we'll be going once a month to continue again to be collecting data, seeing if we can find any trends that are going on, how the seasons change, and how that might affect things in the ecosystem. As you can see, 6th and 8th grade classes also incorporate times into their units of study. 6th grade is much more of an earth science lens, and so environmental studies are appropriate for them there. And in 8th grade, we study more physical science, and we also do a lens on pollution and recycling and how that impacts things. One of the newer tests that we have for students, which they find extremely fun, is this is a turbidity tube, and you pour water into it, and you have to observe and release water to see how clear or cloudy the river is at any given moment. And originally, this was all designed to help feed into a program that the high school wanted to design for Bronx River research. And so now there are not only 2 Bronx River research classes that students can take in the high school. There's Bronx River Research 1, which is an introductory course open to sophomores, juniors, and seniors, and Bronx River Research 2, which is open to those that have completed Research 1 or have good standing in their AP classes. A select few of the AP classes, core classes, and regular classes do incorporate aspects of going to the river and studies of the river where appropriate in their curriculums. And really, it's the hope that we are giving students an opportunity to do some authentic research. I know in the high school, there is great support from the foundation helping to buy some equipment that is of research, almost college level, that they're able to do up there. And then it's excellent what Mr. Tachi is going to talk about is how that we're able to then make the curricular connections with the high school, bring it down to the middle school. They are able to share their experiences with us. And again, the beauty of this K-8 or K-12 program that we have.
Yeah, so as Ms. Zopp just mentioned, there's been a great collaboration between the high school and middle school. The picture you're seeing here is from last year. Unfortunately, I have had one high school student come in. I just neglected to take a picture of it. But this is from last year in the spring, I believe. We had an awesome opportunity to have 3 high school students come and take one of my classes out to the river and discuss their research. And their research was about local fish in the river and what's going on, the health of the fish, the species of the fish. And it was great. It was great. They taught the class. They provided their data, their information. We had talked about some of this in my class. So it was just a great connection all around. So this is something that a trend that we're continuing. Currently, Mr. Stephen Kuvari is running the Bronx River Research Program in the high school. Myself and Jen have had a great connection with him, and we're constantly bringing high school students into our classes, again, to just excite our students in 7th grade. And it's a good opportunity for the high school students to present their information to a real audience, to a live audience. And I can't say anything. It's just so great. It's great to see the connection. The kids get excited about it, having high schoolers come in. They ask great questions. So this is, again, a trend that's going to be happening throughout the school year. I believe I have another high school student coming in on Monday. I believe she's going to speak about invasive species. So totally looking forward to it. And it's going to continue all year. And I believe what you are seeing here, which I'm going to speak about more in a moment, are students conducting more tests. I believe on the left, they just took a sample of water to do either a pH or a phosphate check, or excuse me, nitrate check. And the young ladies on the right are trying to retrieve a leaf pack, which I will get into more detail. And we actually have a video about students dissecting a leaf pack and the purpose of them and what they're looking for. It's quite exciting. So the tests we conduct. So we teach them a wide variety of tests. Some are complicated, some are pretty straightforward. For example, temperature test. We want them to take the temperature of the river, the air around the river, the soil around the river. And again, this is data we're going to collect and see, are the temperatures trending in the right way? Are they not trending in the right way? Why aren't they? Why are they? So we're just constantly asking questions. And it goes into deeper tests like nitrogen, potassium, and phosphate levels of the soil, where it's a multi-step day where they actually have to collect soil one day, dry it out, and then conduct and kind of do these tests in class. And basically they're comparing data, and then they're just seeing, are these levels correct? Are they not correct? Are they high? Are they low? Why are they high? Why are they low? So again, just always asking the question, pushing them to dig deeper. As you can see, there's quite a few tests. So students in classes are broken into about groups of 3, and each group gets about 2 or 3 tests to conduct every time. And then we do rotate, so students all get an opportunity to try different tests and collect and quantify the data. So I believe now we are going to see, yes. So on the left is a large tray of what it just looks like wet leaves. Essentially, that is what it is. But students take a mesh bag, tie it off, tie it to a tree, throw the mesh bag with a length of string into the river, and it stays there for about two weeks or so until we go and retrieve it. On the right, the video you're seeing is the leaf pack pulled apart, and students are now very excited, in a very excited state, trying to retrieve little macroinvertebrates. Macroinvertebrates are great. It's a great indicator to see the living critters essentially in the Bronx River, and is there a proper food supply for the fish? So assessing the level of macroinvertebrates is another way for students to assess, is the habitat healthy? And if you can hear it, they were just having a ball and screaming and enjoying themselves. And then this is after we've dissected the leaf pack. We've pulled out some of the critters to do a species richness test and relative abundance, and essentially count and see what's in there. And as you can see, there's quite a few things. There's some worms, there's something we call scuds, damselfly larvae, mayfly larvae, and we put these on the microscopes. And again, the kids have a ball. They get so excited. They're not sure what they're looking at, and then they start counting them, and it's just a great hands-on experience. And I can't say it's just so much fun.
I think fun is definitely the key there. And this year's, I think kids are so appreciative of being able to be out there and doing things and getting in there all together, looking at all of these things. And here, Mr. Tachi talked before about some of the soil tests. So here are some girls who are collecting soil samples from the river, which they then dried out. And the video that we have here just kind of shows you just some of the lab experiences that they're going through. So they have a list of directions out for them. They have to then take the dirt and mix it with some distilled water. And we have some test tabs, which is like a kid-friendly version to be able to do some of these tests, which could be higher level and upper collegiate experiences. And so they're mixing things up. They're following through the protocols in which they need to be doing, and they will then compare them to a chart. So this one in particular is just looking at the pH of the soil. There's other soil tests that look pretty similar, and everything changes color, so it makes the kids kind of look. And the video you're seeing, if you look rather carefully, you'll see what actually they have to be rather patient. So the soil floats on top, and they have to wait for every last drop of it to go to the bottom. So they can't shake it up, they can't mix it up, because that'll kind of falsify the test. And so it needs to happen at the slow rate. So not only it teaches them skills of patience and kind of what some real world science goes through. So you can see here, there's the color chart, and it looked like on that day, the pH of the river was about a 6, which is, we're learning about pH, which in that would mean it's slightly basic. Still within acceptable range, typically between a 6 and a 6.5 and an 8, but our tests don't get super specific on those for our soil tests.
So the culminating, I guess, presentation. So why are our students doing this? What are they doing with this information? And for that question, it's really the Bronx River Advisory Committee. So it's made up of local professionals, community members, school community members, as you can see here. And our students get an opportunity to quantify, collect, quantify, and take their information, put it in a presentation, and present to this body, this group of people, this committee. And we've been doing it. We did it last year. And I believe currently, right now, it's scheduled for November 12th, so soon. So it's just great. The kids understand that there is sort of a deadline where they're going to actually present, and they're going to take their findings and explain it. And there's going to be scientists there. There's going to be myself, high school members, and they get really excited about it. And they make these really great professional presentations on Google Slides, and they are just having a good time presenting what they find and giving an assessment of the river. And then finally, in future endeavors, what we'd like to do this year, Earth Day 2022, we'd like to have a community cleanup day. We're still kind of fleshing out and figuring out how this is going to look and how it's going to work, but this is going to happen, and we're excited about it. And we're going to really try to get the kids excited to come out, volunteer, and do a cleanup day around the river in the community.
So just thank you guys for the opportunity for us to speak tonight. You know, if you have any questions, you can always reach out to either one of us through email, or you could definitely reach out through the chat. I don't know if there's any time for any questions at the moment. I do see something in the chat about, will the 8th graders be able to work on similar projects? I know and I also teach the 8th grade course, so it's something that's in the back of our minds, but would be definitely more of a springtime thing if we can incorporate something into it and kind of bring those hands-on experiences. So trust me, it is on our minds, and the 8th graders see things going on, and they feel they feel it. And so I do hope, I would love to say just yes, 100%. Let's go with 99.9%.
Thank you, everyone. This is a great opportunity. I really appreciate it. Jen and I really are excited about the river and what we do, and the kids get super excited about it. So we're gonna keep on doing this.
Thank you both. That was really great. Experiential learning is so important to us at Bronxville School, and we appreciate you taking the extra time to utilize what's in our backyard and incorporate it into the curriculum. So thank you. Have a good night. Tom?
Well, thank you, Caroline. I just want to say that I have a kind of a rather unique connection to the Bronxville Middle School Science Department that predates my being an adult. For those of you who went through the Bronxville School, you will remember Dr. John Moyle. And Dr. Moyle raised his family, his lovely wife and 3 children, in a house that was behind my house growing up. I grew up with his children, and I grew up with Dr. Moyle and Mrs. Moyle, and we shared a lot of very good times. And everybody knew Dr. Moyle, even in our neighborhood, as a venerable resource for all things science. So when I was fortunate enough to start in the Bronxville School, Dr. Moyle had retired. But when I got to the middle school, it wasn't lost on me that I was treading very close to where giants had trod. And I'm incredibly proud of Jen and Dan, and really the rest of our science department, but tonight specifically Jen and Dan, because they've had the audaciousness to revise, reform, review, and add to an incredible curriculum, and they've made it their own. And I know that Dr. Moyle would have been proud as well. We are very grateful to both of you tonight for your commitment to our kids and for for what you do with them, because it's really more than just going to the river and learning how to do tests. They are actually, this has got a civics component to it as well. They are stewards of our local ecosystem, and the findings that they are cataloging are used in actual real research that goes beyond what we do in the school. The work at Sarah Lawrence and the Bronx River Conservancy, these are very real entities that are making policy decisions about what needs to happen in order for our river to be healthy. And they rely on our kids. And this is the very nature of what science should be in its best form. And Jen and Dan, thank you so much for being here tonight. You are more than welcome to hang out, but I think you guys unfortunately have to hear me talk enough. So if you'd like to go, we really appreciate what you've done tonight. So thank you. I'd like to start by thanking the foundation tonight. Specifically the foundation, all the members of the foundation, and all the supporters of the foundation in the parent community. Not only just on a daily basis, but really most recently for your approval of our grant for Juno sound systems for the classrooms. If you're not familiar with this grant or its passage or what was being asked for, Juno sound systems are an amplification device for speakers for the teacher. Teachers would use a lavalier microphone on a lanyard. And it amplifies the voice so that it can be heard in all parts of the room with equal modulation. Why is this important? If you spent your day talking behind a mask to people who were also behind masks and at some distance from you, I think you'd readily understand why this might be useful. This grant not only is something that is certainly a technology utility, but it also shows a real commitment to the health and welfare of everyone who's in the middle school. We feel that these sound units will reduce the need for teachers to strain and stress themselves. And we also feel like the teachers will feel that they are well cared for by this community in the passage of this grant, and we thank you. This is not a new idea. These units have been used for a while in elementary school to great advantage. And also we have used them in some world language classrooms to excellent advantage. So we already know that the technology works. We already know what the benefits will be. And we are really looking forward to being able to utilize these. And again, with humble gratitude, thank you to everyone who's related to the board and who considered this for us. We really appreciate it. Next, I want to talk about some of the work that we are doing around school identity in the middle school. This is a kind of a big topic. It has lots of facets. There are lots of smaller component pieces to this. Why would our school, maybe in particular, why would we need to have an identity that's different for the middle school than for the district, say? Well, it's very important that this 3-year continuum have a substantive base to it. It's not elementary school anymore. It's different. It's not yet high school. It's different than high school. Middle school is very different than what preceded it. In Bronxville, we used to have a junior high school. It was an apt term to use for what kids went through. And again, some of you probably went through the Bronxville junior high. Junior high school is as it sounds. The expectations, the way the schedule runs, the types of work are modified somewhat, but it is still a ramp to high school. Middle school has a different affect, a different tone, but similar high expectations. So to understand the culture that you are engaging with in the middle school is important, whether you be a prospective parent a parent who is on your fourth kid moving through, or if you're a student at any stage of the process of being in the middle school. Identity also creates an excitement. It creates a sense that what we do here is special, that there's a rite of passage in each grade and in each special thing that happens. And that middle school is not just a waiting room for high school. This isn't high school light, and this isn't just to practice skills that you'll use in high school. We're not just older elementary students, and we're not young high school students. It truly is a unique time. And one of the problems we have right now with our excitement and our interest and investment in making middle school a different kind of place is that some of COVID has taken from us some of the things that made us special. Let's start with trips. We aren't going to be able to go to Williamsburg, nor will we be going to Washington this year. It's not practical for us to plan that trip if we have to cancel it. Unfortunately, Washington is a much more involved trip to plan. And when we had to cancel this the last time, unfortunately, because of all the deposits we had to put on things, and we did receive refunds for most of them, it took literally over a year for everybody who gave their money to get their money back. That's no condemnation of our business department or anything else. It's just the way things work. So it's not reasonable to plan a trip if there isn't a really high degree of likelihood that that trip is going to take place. Well, that's a problem for us as a school, because the middle school has always seen their trips as a key and central component of team building, a key and central component of curriculum. And we've always been able to run these trips. The Williamsburg trip has been going on for over 60 years. The Washington trip is newer than that, but it's also well into double digits. So if we can't do these trips, we have to replace them with some other things that are, yes, they're not going to be substitutes, or they're not going to take the place of, but they may fill in a little bit. And we are looking for and contemplating trips, day trips, things in our area. If you put a little pin in Bronxville and you swung a 50-mile radius around what exists in that area that kids might really enjoy doing. I'm going to be very blunt. We're not looking for boring field trips. We're looking for real cool, fun things to do as grade levels. One of the things that has been proposed by one of our teams is potentially taking the grade for bowling. And if we took the grade for bowling, we would advertise it and make a real competition out of it. And we would be looking for our kingpins of the grade and have a fun afternoon bowling. That's very reasonable to consider in this time. And does it speak to school culture and school identity? We think it does. It's not necessarily something that we would do forever, but until we can do what we have always done, we need to fill in with some new things. And that's just one example. Again, middle school has lots of things that are rites of passage. Now, our rite of passage for going out to lunch is 7th grade. Most of your friends, family, coworkers, if you told them that middle school kids get to go out and they are unleashed on the town that you live in, they wouldn't believe you. It's not commonly done. It's done in some places, like in New York City, it's done in some schools. I worked in a school that let fifth graders go to lunch. But in our school, the rite of passage is seventh grade to go out to lunch. These are things that the kids know. These are things elementary school kids know. And to be able to look forward to what's special about sixth grade, what's special about seventh grade, what's special about eighth grade is, and to document those things in such a way that kids know what they are a part of. It's really our work right now. Being able to take a language, being able to have ownership over choices academically, such as being in an accelerated math class by choice, is another special piece of our puzzle. Our school is unique in that we do have the ability to take kids out into the community. You've heard about the Bronx River tonight. We also enjoy an open campus for seventh and eighth graders, and we have an advisory program that is working to help kids to deal with everything from distress tolerance to event planning, to how to deal with executive functioning around studying, to what to do when social groups change. I maintain that middle school is one of the hardest transitions to make in the entire continuum. The only one that really comes to mind that in my mind is more difficult, maybe pre-K to K. It's difficult becoming a middle school student. So we're also looking at the rights and privileges of students so that they know what's different year to year, and how well our curriculums align with the Bronxville Promise, and being able to explain where they connect more completely. There's a fifth component now to the Bronxville Promise that is entitled the Heart of the Promise. That's the interpersonal effectiveness, emotional regulation, and distress tolerance components. And these are all pieces of what we are talking about as a faculty. The work that we talked about earlier, the Juno units, also relate to that as well. We have also got a responsibility for understanding the needs of our students and creating an inclusive environment. It means everybody belongs. Everybody has equal right to be a part of everything that happens in the school. This is not a new concept in Bronxville, and we are not necessarily suggesting that anything dramatic is going to shift here, but our community has had a long history of financially backing programs or experiences for all kids, regardless of whether they can afford to join these experiences or not. Williamsburg is our most expensive trip, for example, and I have not had a year where I haven't had anonymous and very gracious, kind donors call me directly and say, I'd like to sponsor somebody who can't afford to do this. That's Bronxville. And that's what makes it great to work here, because it's not about just making sure that your own child can have a good experience. It's that this community really shows that they want to have everybody who lives here be a part of things. And to that end, some of the symbolic messages of the middle school are also being looked at. We are in the process of toying with, we don't know exactly how it's going to work yet, but toying with some nautical flags and some of the symbology of nautical flags. And one idea is to use a flag with a blue border, a big, thick blue border with a white interior, a square flag. And that square flag was actually designed as part of a school project in Mr. DeStefano's class. The flag symbology relates to the fact that it's one square, and the student said, this represents 1 square mile that is Bronxville. And the blue is Bronxville, and everything that's in the white is all of us and everything that happens. It's a beautiful notion. We are deciding whether we're going to do some nautical flags and maybe have our blue square and then the flag for 6 and flag for 7 and flag for 8, and play around with some of the meanings of what a square mile encompasses, what that includes. And again, our goal being that we want our students to own this, and we want them to be able to come up with ideas related to their own school and what matters to them. And finally, I want to talk about a new club that is formed. It's a club that was run under a different name and had a different purpose and a different reason for being. But this club has been reformed, and we're calling it the Pay It Forward Club. The Pay It Forward Club is it's a service club. In service to who? It depends. It depends what their focus is in the moment. The Pay It Forward Club's reason for being is to make things nice, to make it fun, to make people feel included, to do things that will not necessarily benefit them directly, but benefit others. This club's just about to start holding interest meetings, and the tagline for the interest meetings, and by the way, all of the work done in the club really focuses on verbiage from social media. We are going to try and rebrand social media as a positive force in students' lives. So the tagline is, do you want to be an influencer? If you do, you should come to the Pay It Forward Club and find out how you can have a positive influence on those around you. We're really looking forward to this, and it really fits very well with the notion of our school identity, because belonging and doing things for the benefit of others, even if it's of no direct immediate benefit to ourselves, these are centrally important components of what we want to bring to our kids. And I'm very excited about this work. The work is not being done in a vacuum. I met today, for example, with a subcommittee of the student government who wants to have a hand in, and they have some real questions about our disciplinary code, starting with what the heck is that? Because they don't really know. And that's a problem. And so there are real substantive pieces of work being done by kids, by teachers. Caroline and the council have been very helpful in being available and being willing to help us look at some of these trips, and there will be other opportunities for parents who want to have a positive influence on developing our identity to do so. So that's the sum total of what I wanted to talk about tonight. But I will entertain any questions you have. It does not have to be about this. This is our time to share about the. Here we go, John. Science curriculum is wonderful, and I know the kids enjoy it so much. I'm curious why math is not being given the same attention and resources, and why parents need to homeschool the 6-H curriculum. You have talked about this before, but I know there are many of us who would like to understand why this learning can't happen in school. Well, for a couple of reasons. We have made the shift away from having students in these higher level classes based on a test or based on some performance measure. That's a problem because when we were doing that, we were really excluding some kids from consideration. And for those of you who have known me for a long time, you're probably sick of me saying it, but it's true. You cannot underestimate the power of a summer. Kids do change. They do grow. Developmental readiness can come in July. We can't know that. You know a lot about your kids. You know what they're ready for. Now, if they're not performing at the level that you hope they are, hopefully we can also talk about that. But the importance of making this classwork available for any student who is willing to try is really important in middle school. The time of putting kids in lanes and making them making their experience be completely related to objective measures of success on standardized tests or former coursework is coming. That will happen. But in middle school, we think it's important that if students want to try some of this work, they should have the right to do so. If we did what we did years ago and we put kids in classes based on that designation, we couldn't offer this to everyone. It's just not possible. So the work in our school, both in grade 6 and in grade 8, focuses on students having the ability to be in a class that they opt to be in. It doesn't necessarily mean they can cross their fingers and hope and just going to be great. They have to do the work, and they also have to be ready to do the work. They have to have the background and the underpinnings, which is why we did have summer work this year, and we will have summer work moving forward. It's going to change. We're going to do it differently, and we'll talk more about that in a future meeting. Spoiler alert, it will be less than we had this summer. And I think our teachers are in agreement that our kids really benefited from it. But we also recognize that we can probably accomplish things in a more streamlined way. So we're going to talk more about that as the year goes on. The Pay It Forward Club is going to be open to all 3 grade levels. And I would assume that you'll get more information starting next week. Liana, there's a recent school email about kids not wearing masks correctly with a 0.002 chance of children dying from COVID. Can there be a survey done among parents to assess this mask mandate? We all know that if the mask is not an N95, it's all theater. No, we can't. We don't have the ability to make a local decision on whether students can be in the building with masks on. That being said, Liana, I'm not going to suggest to you that all masks are equal. They're not. And yet I don't know specifically which masks are completely ineffective other than gaiters, but there is no local ability for us to assess what that means to us. we can't be in the building if we don't have masks on. And believe me, it's frustrating. It's not easy. We have kids who wear glasses and have masks and they fog up, and it's difficult. And we do give a degree of latitude, but for everyone. But they have to be on in the school. It's one of the important features of keeping the building safe. And forgetting about whether kids are dying of COVID, we haven't had a case of COVID in the middle school. Can I say that's due to masks? Of course I can't. I can't say that. But I can tell you that we haven't had any COVID cases and we've been wearing masks for over a year. Last year we had 5 cases of COVID. Some of those cases were in the building before they knew they had COVID. Others were on vacation. When that was the case, though, none of those 5 children gave COVID to any other child in the building. Not one, which proved a couple of things. A, school is not a super spreader event if some measures are taken, because in these children's same houses, they were giving it to, parents were giving it to kids and vice versa. So I don't know for sure the science on masks and exactly what the best formula is, but I do know that I don't have a choice, and it's not something that we're going to be able to review locally. And yet it could be theater. I don't doubt that. A lot of things have been theater related to COVID, as I'm sure we all can agree. From what constitutes washing hands to what kind and what percentage of hand sanitizer, and should you use hand sanitizer? It's very difficult. Basic cleanliness and keeping our building clean and making sure that commonly touched surfaces are being addressed on a daily basis during the day multiple times continues to be our goal. And we have lots of antimicrobial wraps on surfaces like handrails. Again, I can't tell you that this has made the difference, but I can tell you this: last year we had, I don't know if we had 1 case of flu. I don't know if we had any cases of significant illness that would have been expected during the course of a school year. Is that because kids were farther away from each other and not breathing on each other and not being around each other? I'm not qualified to say that, but I do think that what we have in place is having some kind of an effect. And I hope that most of you can appreciate that, that beyond teaching your children, our primary concern is keeping them safe. And I think we're doing an incredibly good job keeping everyone safe and also giving them a full middle school experience again, which we really missed last year. So we're very happy about that. So Caroline, it looks like that's all the questions we have. And I'm obviously, if you want to talk about something that it's not appropriate to do here, you can always email me. I'll be happy to get back to you. But thank you for your attention tonight, and thank you for coming to hear our fantastic science department.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Tom.